not far. I know it. Oh.
Okay, Counselor's ready. Ready, Mark? Okay. Ready, Mark? Okay. I'll call this workshop to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's right there.
Roll call, please, Twyla.
Yes. Councillor Garrison?
Present.
Councillor Lunt?
Here.
Councillor McTevier is excused. Councillor Bickford?
Here.
Councillor Ward?
Here.
Councillor Paskey?
Here.
Councillor Brunel?
Here.
Okay, the first item, please, Twyla.
Is in the workshop, the sewer upgrade and the server upgrade and copier bids.
All right. We've been provided with quite a bit of material. I want to...
Yeah, I think
Diane, take
what we'll
this.
do is turn it over to Ryan and Jody to explain the differences in the bids.
Good evening. I guess the only thing I would reference would be the server upgrade and copier bids review spreadsheet that we handed out. I guess there was one that was stapled in your packet, but there was one that was revised with a little bit of additional information. I guess I don't know where you'd like to start from from last meeting. I think most everything seemed to revolve around, I mean, again, the computer hardware pretty much was all kind of on par with each other. There was big discrepancies, or some big discrepancies within the labor amounts between the three different vendors. And then there was the copier side of things where there was different approaches and whatnot. The updated spreadsheet does show that SimQuest provided us with a cash price similar to the other two vendors, as well as clarified the differencing in the per copy pricing, which was fixed for the entire 5-year term of the or 60 months of the purchase or service agreement. And they provided a .006 for non-fixed black and white copy and .039 for a non-fixed color per copy. We did get some additional verification from, or clarification from PCCI that the support was unlimited network support, was included in their price per copy. And I think that was really the only new differences from the last meeting, and I'm not sure really how you'd like to proceed in terms of, I'm sure there's more questions than, I'd rather just dive into the questions, I guess, if that's all right.
I'm just wondering what your take is on this, Ryan, in terms of comparing apples to apples so that we aren't comparing an apple to an orange. Do we have any differences that we need to be aware of so that we can make sure we...
I think the biggest thing is,
that.
again, within the labor, and it just is the difference from the firm that's been supporting our infrastructure for the last 6 years, or at least, you know, one individual that's been with a couple different firms, but carried through since the servers were installed originally. And I mean, it's understandable that none of the other firms, they don't have that historical knowledge, and it's clear in the labor amount. So I guess, again, I don't know how to further justify that or explain that.
Okay. Any questions from councilors on particular lines or any general questions? Or
I have a question. On PCCI, it says unlimited network support. Is that the same with the SimQuest?
I believe it's, yes, the SimQuest included unlimited support, and also I believe as part of their service agreement, it was if they can't fix it, they'll replace it. So replace with new, I believe.
And what about the copiers?
That's what we're
That's
talking about.
not the server.
No, we're not.
Okay. That's all the copy.
All that support and that discussion surrounds the copiers.
Okay.
You mentioned the group that does our labor. You talked about labor and the discrepancy in labor. Who does that now?
SimQuest.
SimQuest.
Now, I apologize for not being at the last meeting, and I know I talked with Counselor Pesky to get filled in on things. I'm wondering why we combined two things that were originally two separate issues, the networking and the photocopiers.
They're actually networked and combined right now, and that's been an issue of concern, I guess. And we see that becoming more and more, and that's what we discussed at the last meeting. It's going to be more and more connected as we move forward. The plans right now, as I understand it, are for the copier to also receive our faxes. Our faxes will be held in a queue, and the people working the front counter would be able to access the queue from their workstation and pull up a fax instead of printing it. And then, because all they do is print it to verify registration, if you will. You have to verify your insurance before you can process a registration. And this was a step that we discussed doing in order to minimize unnecessary printing and some of those items. But irregardless, I mean, we scan from the existing copier to our individual computers. We all print those to the copier. And the whole point is for, all that stuff is becoming, again, more and more just connected. And we've been visited on a number of occasions from a number of different firms trying to sell us whole package deals, and that's why we ended up putting it out together as a package.
So I remember talking about this during budget season, and I remember talking about the need for a new copier. How did we budget that specifically?
As a lease payment.
Okay. And did we include in that the server
No,
cost?
the server was budgeted separately in the technology budget.
I don't think I'm the only person who's confused about why it was separated like that when we were talking about the budget, but not made clear to us. Is there anybody else who's confused? I wasn't under the impression that we would be going to bid for this big combination package, and I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, but this took me by surprise that we have everything all rolled into one package. I know sometimes having a package can save money, so I'm not against it, but I'm not really sure I'm...
Before we went out to bid, we did come to council and ask permission to go out to bid for a server and copier.
Combined.
Yes. There was one item that you discussed and approved.
I'd like to have that, part of those minutes from that meeting, so that I can see. Not that I disbelieve you, but I want to see
Not a problem?
what we were discussing and know at what point. But that's neither here nor there. So at this point, how do these budget numbers compare to the server and copier numbers that we had put into the budget?
The server installation and upgrades, we budgeted $34,348, and the total price from SimQuest, who was the recommendation for the server, is $34,206. And I can't speak to the copier lease. Do you want to?
I don't have the budget sheets with me, but I know that all of them are within the budget allotment. All of the RFPs that came in with all three vendors.
With the server upgrade and the copier bids?
The copiers are separate, but the two copiers are allotted in our budget, and all three of these bids fall within our parameter.
So all the bidders bid within our budget for both copier and server upgrades?
Yes,
correct?
because SimQuest was the higher of the three
Okay.
for the server.
When I know I have a big package full of information from everyone on details and so forth, and I guess I'd like to ask a general question that maybe individuals from each of the, do we have someone from each organization here? Okay, I thought so. I'd like to ask a couple of general questions and maybe have them answered, and I invite my fellow counselors to chime in any time on this. My biggest question is about the copiers, and what I'd like to find out is what, in general language, what the copiers that are here, is there opportunity for savings within that line? I think I had one person describe one of the copiers to me, and I don't know a lot about copiers, I just know how to use them sometimes. You know, we don't need the Taj Mahal of copiers, but we need a copier that's going to be a workhorse for the town, and we need to make sure that we have backup and that we have fast solutions to issues. So I think those are probably three pretty common things that you guys get asked. We have PCCI and SimQuest and budget. I'd like, since they're in that order in our packet, if we could hear from someone from each company in that order, that would be great. So PCCI. Hi.
Charlie Pasquarello, I'm the sales manager for PCCI. In regards to the copier, the specs basically led us to the Kyocera brand of copier, which you folks have now. It's a very good brand. They have good support right from the manufacturer. As far as what we do, we monitor the equipment remotely, and we send toner automatically, we get meter readings automatically, we get some service alerts automatically as well. Our response time is about 3 hours. We cover the entire state. We've got a branch in Portsmouth, Portland, Augusta, and Bangor. So as far as the specs for the copier are concerned, I think, in my opinion, that the machine is a little bit more, it's spec'd out a little bit more than the volume actually dictates. And if it were me speccing out the bid, I probably would have reeled back the speed and the overall girth, if you will, of the machine. And I would have gone with something a little bit lighter duty based on the volume that I saw. But having said that, good equipment. The Kyocera stuff that we all presented is very, very good, very state-of-the-art, very reliable. And again, it's going to come down to service and dollars and cents. So,
Okay, thank
Is that
you.
good?
Thanks, Charlie. And SimQuest?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Meg Fleming. I'm the sales manager for SimQuest here in Maine. And I think I'll start by reiterating some of the things that SimQuest does that's a little bit different. You know,
Can you lift up your mic for me?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Excellent. So a couple things, you know, we offer similar programs. We're all offering similar programs with automated toner delivery, automated meter services so that Jody or Ryan don't need to provide us with any of the meter readings on the copiers. We can retrieve those remotely. We offer our 5-year fix or replace guarantee on product. And really, when we venture into a partnership, it's all about a relationship. So when we looked at what the business specs were and did do a little bit of pre-consultative interview with some of the folks here in the town office, we learned through our bidding process that there were some things that people wanted to do more efficiently and faster, which is why we selected the 75-page a minute and stayed in alignment with what the bid specs had requested. As indicated by Ryan earlier, we also include all of our connectivity service support. That's ongoing. It's training in addition to support of the product. So if you have new staff members join your team, if you have different business needs that arise, that's ongoing training for the life in the term of the contract, so it would be for 5 years, in addition to just the break fix, having a print problem.
And would you, you said that you suggested this copier after seeing what we had requested, and then also after talking with
That's correct.
Employees.
That's correct.
And did you think that it was a little bit too much, a little too little, or somewhere in the middle?
I think overall, it may be a little faster than you might have needed. However, I think based on the efficiency that you'll gain with it, it seemed to work in alignment with what was requested.
Okay.
What about for the copier at the police department? Did you think that was efficient?
Yes,
And that's what we need over there?
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Okay, great, thanks,
Great,
Meg.
thank you.
Okay. And the folks from Budget?
Good evening. Tom Willett, President and founder of Budget in Lewiston. We've been your current vendor for over 15 years, done work in the town for over almost 24 since I started the business 25 years ago. A couple things first. I'd like to clarify that Ryan did start out with your current copier vendor for labor is us, not SimQuest. And I believe that's the question you asked, and he answered it as SimQuest. I think he was thinking for IT services.
Right.
Just to clarify that. The other thing I'd like to clarify is tonight I heard .006 from SimQuest for black copies. I was at the bid opening last week. I saw .0082. The spreadsheet Ryan provided last week was .0082 after year one. They were going to offer free black pages for year one only, based on 24,000 pages in the town, 12,000 in the police department. Fax forwarding, which I've heard that twice now, a feature so you can review faxes. That's a common standard feature on any manufacturer today. Okay, so it's nothing special. To answer your question, Ms. Ward, as far as the copiers in the town, with the history I have, they're averaging about 23,000 pages a month. And that's through the years, and it's been pretty consistent. The police department's only averaging 5,000 pages a month. In my professional opinion, and I came from a service background years ago, carrying a toolkit, the police department machine is overkill. That should be no more than a 45-page-a-minute machine. They have only a 25-page-a-minute machine in there now. So you could even reduce more costs if you were to go out to bid and put this out again separately. The town, I realize we do not have a color history at this time, so that could increase. So I do agree with the other two vendors. A 75-page-a-minute machine would probably be adequate. You're at 60 pages a minute now. We don't know how much color you will be throwing at the machine. There's no history at this point. So having said that, with the police department, I think it was overspec, my professional opinion. I did provide some spreadsheets. I think we'll probably get to that later on, so I won't go into that too much. The other part of this equation is the overall operational cost over the next 60 months. Okay, SimQuest came in with a lease payment. There was no request for a lease payment at all in this proposal. Okay, I assumed you would be going out to a muni lease with an Androscoggin Bank or Gorham Savings or Camden National if you were going to go to leasing. That's what I would highly recommend, having done this for so many years at 2.78%. I took the liberty to back into lease payments. I provided those spreadsheets for you because I wanted to make sure the information is accurate tonight from what I heard last week. So you have all that information also for review. The key to this here, PCCI and budgets cost per page was at .0039 on black. Even factoring year one, over a 60-month period, there's almost a $10,000 operational cost savings. PCCI is actually lower than us, and by about $1,000. So just in defense here of having a look at this, you should look at this over the life cycle of the equipment, not just what was put on the table. What was put on the table was a way to show you, here's what it looks like today, but next year, here's where your service starts over the next 4 years. So I just wanted to clarify a few of those things, and that's all I have for right now until we possibly get into some of the information that I sent also yesterday.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
I'd like to...
Can I just respond to why I spec'd what I spec'd for the police department and the town?
I want to ask you that, but not right now.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to ask a general question, just a yes or no question of all three companies. I would like to know if any of you think that this sheet that we have is not apples to apples. Is the sheet that we were provided with updated numbers today, is this or is this not apples to apples?
I haven't seen today, so is that last week's? Has that changed since then, Ryan?
Ryan, is this the same one that we had last week?
No.
This is a different one? You're welcome to look at mine. Okay.
The biggest thing I need to see is was our option 2 shown, because it was not shown last week.
I mean, at first glance, this looks much more.
Say apples to apples, we left it as a cut here. Sorry, I don't know.
I didn't hear everything you said, though, Ryan.
To leave it apples to apples, we just did the cut here.
Yes.
They're the only ones that offer the con.
We auctioned out a second manufacturer that met specs. Almost every single spec exceeded except for one spec. And so we auctioned that out also. You can see on that spreadsheet also. So it's
Okay.
on here.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I'm not sure if it's for Jody or Ryan, but for budget, their total number is 49,566. Does that include the lease purchase?
That's a cash, all these numbers on this sheet today are cash prices for the copiers and all the hardware and labor as are in the original proposals.
Okay. So does that explain why SimQuest went down?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So by purchasing the equipment instead of leasing, we saved $6,000 for SimQuest. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if we'd only budgeted for the lease, how do we have the money in the budget for purchasing? I don't understand that. Where's the money coming from?
We're still going to have to lease, and we'd go out to a municipal lease, just as it was just mentioned.
So that's not actually the final cost then, because there'd be interest payments if you're going to lease it. I mean,
That's correct.
yep.
In order to get as close to apples as we can, we got the cash price from SimQuest till we could put it in here and compare it. The sheet that is here tonight, as far as I can tell, unless I've got something completely out of whack, is an apples-to-apples comparison based on the hardware that was bid with the correct number of units for the thin clients, as well as the labor numbers that were provided by each vendor, and then the copiers based on the model that we specified, and then the cash price for each for those two different models. And we spec'd them like that because we wanted to make sure we had a backup in-house if we had any problems with the one here at the town office, which we've had in the past. We've had recently, when it was time to do tax bills, when we did mailings for the Public Works Garage, we've done all that stuff where there's big jobs. We wanted to make sure that we had something that was here, that if we needed to go use, we just had to walk across the hall.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Ryan, I have one more question for you. So in these proposals here, and I'm sorry I have so many questions, but this is very foggy.
Hey,
It's very foggy to me. So we have the purchase of copiers, 2 copiers. We have the service contract and IT service, right?
I didn't delve into the cost per year for the service contract. I just provided because it's based on the price per copy. So we just left it as .005 and .03, those numbers right there shown next to each row for black and white or color copies. Because that's, again, getting back to the truest apples to apples. One vendor says we're going to do 24,000, another vendor estimated it at 12,000. We have no idea with copies, so if we just do a per copy, there's as close to apples as you're going to get.
So you have, when, say something goes wrong right now with the copier, you somehow get in touch with budget, is that correct, to get it fixed?
Correct.
So all of these proposals include that service of a service contract. And then what about IT service? Is that the same thing or is that different?
IT service is a separate contract,
Okay.
which is why we're, why it's so hazy, I guess.
Understandable. All right, thanks, Ryan. I'm sorry, you have to keep getting up
Oh,
and
no,
down.
want to try to get it right.
Jody, I want to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay. And then we do want to know what that process, since I understand you wrote the RFP for these items. But my first question is, do we have a color copier in the town office right now?
We have a color printer.
Color printer. And so obviously we don't use a color copier because we don't have one. What kinds of things and how often would we need a color copier for?
Well, there's a feature that you can give it a code, so you can control who has access to make color copies. We essentially did the same thing with the color printer, that it was only networked to people who were allowed or needed access to a color printer or color copies, whatnot. So that would be controlled, so it was limited. It is much less per page to do it through a copier than it is to do through the printer, which is why I even looked at the option. Currently, the one we have in there has major issues that aren't worth fixing. The serviceman won't even do it. So going out to bid, it was a time for me to put all three things into one and have a solution for everything. It'll end up saving us money on paper and toner for the fax machine, as well as 3 separate cartridges that we currently buy for the color printer in the mailroom for the Dell.
So what kinds of things do we need to print with a color copier or color printer, whichever is available?
It's usually maps or ordinance changes. Other than that, the only other thing we've done on there are maybe some kind of promotional flyer that Tracy may be working on, something like the trail ribbon cutting, or ordinances, the lengthy packages that come to you that are in the red. That's really it.
Okay.
There's not a huge volume. Sometimes there are codes violations, and he needs to print color pictures.
Right. And what were the, just in your own description, what was specified? What specifically did the town office ask for in a bid, so that we know that they're, I mean, we see what's on paper, but for those of us who don't have to buy photocopiers and worry about servers every day, some of it is we're slogging through it. So in your words, what were we looking for?
I was looking for more speed so we could increase our efficiency. Currently, what's happening here is when we print tax bills, all the other offices who rely on it as a printer have no print solution. So for me, I was just trying to get the jobs in and out. And increased speed is one way to do that. I increased the speed over at the PD by a substantial amount. Tom knows that. I discussed it with him. I explained to him the reason why. We have one unit here at the town office. When this one breaks and I never could get a service tech here same day, I was stuck probably at least 10 times last year to prepare your agenda packets. And it would have been really nice to have a machine similar to what we have here now that I could go and get the job done. I went to the school department and spent half a day over there with a machine that did 35, 45 pages per minute.
I guess, I mean, does anybody else have any other questions?
You and the rest of the employees here at the town office, which one of these makes sense to you?
They bid on my specs. The only one that wasn't what I asked for was the Konica, which is slower than what I asked for.
think I just want to make sure that I cover all the bases. And I know you said that, a few times, that you had no access to a photocopier, so you needed to find another way, whether it's go to the police department to make copies or go to the school department to make copies. I just want to understand the process of elimination, and I guess I was wondering why we didn't go with one large photocopier that can do a lot of things but isn't the Taj Mahal, quote unquote, and then a backup photocopier so that there's always one that maybe it's only black and white and maybe all it does is photocopy and fax or whatever the basics are. But I just wanted to know why we didn't look at that, because I do remember talking about that in a workshop when we were discussing the pros and cons of lease purchase versus purchase, and not knowing which would be a better cost option for us. What was the sort of process to come to the conclusion that we should just get a bigger, faster one than to have one that could meet most of our needs and have a backup one maybe in another department?
I'm not really sure where Taj Mahal copiers come, because it's really only 5 or 10 page per minute faster than what we currently have. So it was just a small upgrade for what we have here in the town office. We currently have 65 pages per minute.
So if
the only thing it did, we added color, which adds approximately around $1,000. And even to fix the printer that we have in there would be over $500.
Okay, so that answers those questions. It's not really biggest, baddest. It's really just better than what we have now.
Right.
But did we consider or not consider for a specific reason having a backup copier so that you wouldn't have to go other places to make copies, or?
Well, it was in the budget to replace the copier at the police department. So
that would still be the backup?
That's in the
that would be my
one
backup.
for here and one for there.
I know, but the key was when you had to go to the school department, that's because the copier in the town and the copier in the police department were both down.
The one at the police department is 25 pages per minute. If it took me half a day at the school on a 35 to 40 page per minute, I would have needed 2 to 3 days to complete your agenda packets over there.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that everybody has the answers to the kinds of questions
Yeah,
that
no,
we
I
were
appreciate
asking.
the,
Did you have any questions?
I have an additional question, if that's okay.
Sure.
I remember talking with Chief Brooks during one of the budget process, not sure if it was this past year or the year before, about a image document scanning system. Will this device meet that requirement or that need that he has over there?
no.
That's a special machine, isn't it? Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, he can scan his documents, but he would still have to file them himself. In a document imaging system, from what I understand, you replace your paper copies, you scan them in, and it has a software so you can retrieve the documents. So it will sort and organize them so that you can call them up. It actually comes with a database
So
as you're scanning them in.
there's no way to get one machine that will do both of those tasks?
Not to my knowledge.
Only if you put in the manpower to actually build the database yourself.
Right. My other question I had was, I know we've thrown a lot around the lease purchase, and we've thrown around just outright buying. What is the pros and cons of doing a lease compared to just purchasing a photocopier? Even though it's not in the budget, but say we made things work and we're able to just go buy one. What is pros and cons?
Well, the cash price, obviously, if you don't lease, you're saving money because you're not paying any interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then other than that, it's what is council's intent. Since we only have one machine, the life expectancy is not that much longer than 5 years. We got a little over 6 years on our current machine, so we had 1 year without any payments. Free and clear, we own the machine. then you have to start the process all over again. You have to budget to buy another one. Or you can budget for a lease payment and have an ongoing payment, and you always have a new copier coming in every 5 years.
I've looked around at asked around at a few places where I know people who work at bigger companies, so they have high use in photocopying machines, to see what sorts of things that they do. And I talked to somebody who used PCCI, I talked to somebody who used Budget. I got the impression that a lease was a better choice, that most companies found it to be a better, more affordable, and more logical choice in terms of wear and tear, because then if you purchase a machine and it lasts for 5 or 6 years, and then you have an old machine nobody wants, including you, and you have to buy a new machine. So having a contract for a lease is a better idea, from what I've seen. Are there any more questions for Jody from council?
Jody, you mentioned there were a couple times when the copiers were broken down and you couldn't get anyone to fix them for a couple days. Was that a regular occurrence? Are you happy with the service you're getting? Or
In the last 3 years, when I placed a service call, they never showed up same day. And the other companies had a 1 to 2 response time, or I think PCCI said they had a 3.2, an average 3.2 hour response time.
Mm-hmm. So you're a little frustrated with the current
Yes.
setup?
Mm-hmm. And other employees in the building are as well.
What's the average wait time that you think you've had to wait?
Sometimes it's next day. If it's a Friday, then it would be the following Monday.
So it's usually the next day? The next
Yeah,
work
not
day?
usually more than 2 days.
Yeah.
But when you're only one unit
Right.
and it's print and copy, it presents a real problem. When this one did get old, they did bring us a loaner, and that helped, but it didn't have the same capacity that we rely on.
So did you work with Ryan to put this together, or how did this work to come together as a package deal?
I provided Ryan the specs for the copier.
Okay, and then Ryan put together the whole package?
Meg at SimQuest said that they had sent folks here to the town office to talk to town office employees to see what sorts of things they would need. So were the other 2 companies able to do that? Although Budget's already more aware because
Yeah.
they've been on site, but
Tom and I had a couple of phone calls, and I also brought the gentleman from PCCI to the mailroom, and we discussed several things and why I was looking for that prior to them putting in the RFP.
okay.
You said they all came under budget for a lease program? Is that what it was, for a lease payment?
Yeah, for a lease.
For a lease.
Throughout the budget, which I'm not at all your budget meetings, but from what was relayed to me, I was led to believe that throughout the budget workshops and stuff that council was leaning towards wanting to do a lease. So that's what we budgeted.
I'm going to ask you again, out of these 3 companies here, which one are you leaning towards? Which one would make everybody in this office happy, right?
To be quite honest with you, the machine is the machine. I'm really concerned with the service, and the problems I will tell you that I've had are the copier is also our scanner and is networked to all of our computers, and under the service contract with Budget, if we call them in to set up a new user or something's not working, it's $99 an hour. So I ended up kind of putting SimQuest in a spot that I was like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Because I didn't have $99 an hour in a budget to work on that feature. So that was a hassle throughout the year. Also, when new employees come on board, there's no real training after installation, so that's really important to me, because when I'm going in 100 different directions and everybody wants me to fix the copier or scan their documents, it puts a halt to everything I'm doing. So service is huge for me.
All right,
Does that
thanks.
answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Diane,
Just making sure.
what's your take on, I mean, you've had time to take a look at these, and
I think the networking, that's huge, because everything's going to be tied to the copier, and then obviously the server. And I think just coming from a municipality that didn't have IT people available because we were so far away from everything, when we had an issue, it was huge. And everything is networked together now. That's why we put this bid out together as one whole package, because everything is networked. The server, the copier, we can do things to the copy machines now, so we can save on our printers at our desks. But everything is funneled through the network. It's on the network, and you need to have somebody that knows how to deal with the network. So to me, that's going to be key. To me, that's more important than anything.
what did you think of the 3 different bids?
I think, the hardware, there isn't too much difference. Obviously, SimQuest and PCCI are bidding on the exact same machine. I question the labor as well, and the networking. I just, you've got somebody here that knows our network and has been working on the network for several years now. And that's just what I want to make sure, whatever decision is made, that we get somebody that can do the networking. That's the main thing.
So at this point, we have Budget, who's been working with us for quite some time. So we have a good relationship with them. SimQuest, who we already work with, we've already worked with for other things, so we already know we work with them. And PCCI, who, although we haven't worked with them, already have a good reputation in this area for this type of thing. So do you think there's any other information that we need before we wrap up this part of the workshop?
No, I don't. No, I think that everybody, all the vendors did an excellent job talking about their products. I think Jody did a great job explaining why she spec'd out the bids, spec'd out the package the way she did, and also with Ryan. And it's not going to be an easy decision. It's not cut and dry. And,
no, it's not.
So what I would like to see, and I know it's going to cost more in labor, but I'd like to see SimQuest still continue to do our IT. Maybe if you could start with that and then figure out what you're going to do for a machine. But with the history that they have here in the building, that's really important, because we're tied. We can't do anything. If something goes down, everything is tied from waiting on the customers on a day-to-day basis, and we're all tied to the network.
Are you suggesting that we maybe separate the server upgrades from the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's an option, as long as the vendors are okay with that.
What about when it comes to the network? I see with PCCI they have unlimited network support, and I don't see a dollar price for that. And then for SimQuest, I didn't see a dollar price. And then for Budget, $99 per hour in excess of 2 hours. For SimQuest and PCCI, is that included in there?
I believe it is that.
It's in the price per copy.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That's for print. The price per copy is for the copiers themselves. There's nothing in here about ongoing network support. So there's either a monthly fee or some sort of fee with SimQuest now to keep your support up. And it would be the same with PCCI. all remotely monitored, just like the copiers. So that was never broached in the specs, however, we include it in our proposal.
Just the copier scan.
I think we have a little bit of confusion. So there's the network support with SimQuest that's supporting your network infrastructure and the hardware on that. And then there's the printer connectivity support.
Yeah.
Which is when we look at the SimQuest bid with the price per copy, that ongoing connectivity printer support is included in that number. So there's no additional fee for that, but it's separate from your network support agreement that you have with SimQuest, if that makes sense. I think we're getting network and
It does.
everything confused.
So we need to separate our general networking from our copier networking.
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, I think that's clear. Tom?
The $99 after beyond the 2 hours, it's 2 hours per machine. Okay? It's not going to take more than 2 hours to really connect these machines to your existing network. A few times Nick has reached out to my systems engineer here, Bill Hatch, who I brought tonight in case there was any technical questions. And just going back to, as Diane mentioned, possibly separating this, and I'm sure PCCI and SimQuest will agree on this, there's many towns and many corporate environments that have separate IT vendor in-house, whether in-house, on staff, or else outsourced, as SimQuest is doing for you folks, that work with various copier vendors. We work with companies such as DEK out of Brunswick, Enable IT out of Brunswick, Roundtable Technologies here in Lewiston, Advanced Micro, where Nick worked at one time. Nick and I had actually a very good long relationship for many years with a lot of local accounts. So I'm sure Nick would be the first one to vouch on that it's easy to work with. One more thing just to address Jody's concern on the service. Yes, and I addressed some of this last year. The machines are 6 and 10 years old now. We keep them running even beyond their useful life, to be quite frank. We have always brought in a loaner, typically the same day if we're having a call. If it's a Friday, a lot of times it does become a Monday. I agree with that. I'm going to actually pull the service records on here in the last couple of years, because that does concern me, telling me 2 days. Like 2 days, usually someone would pick up the phone by then and call me personally by then. So I'm very concerned here with that.
Thank you, Tom. All right, we have a lot to think about for when we come to that item on our meeting agenda, but I'm sorry.
I've been holding this in for a little while. I got to get it out. I just want to say, first of all, separating the things out is not a problem. If you folks are comfortable with SimQuest as your IT provider, we'd be more than happy to work with you regarding your copiers and the technology that goes along with that. Dylan, sorry. You mentioned something about advanced scanning. What I see on here, I see SimQuest offers a free printer in here. Everybody's trying to get a little edge and throw a little something in. I had actually included DMS Link, which is an advanced scanning software for the Kyocera product, which will allow you to actually search through a group of folders and put the document directly where you want to put it without having to put it in a folder and then move it. It also forces a naming convention and OCRs the document into a searchable PDF, Word, or Excel. So I'm mentioning this for 2 reasons. It's a software that's not real expensive that I've included in here, regardless of which way you went. If you go with Kyocera, that software is out there and it's good stuff. So we did that. We did include that in our proposal as well.
What was that called again?
It's called DMS Link.
DMS Link?
Yes. It's a Kyocera product. And it runs as an application on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have one question either for Ryan or for all 3 vendors. Would be the labor estimates on there. Are those just estimates, or is that a fixed cost? So you're bidding. I don't know.
On the copier, you mean?
Yeah, or, well, it would mostly, I think, as you say, on the copier, it probably wouldn't be more than a couple hours. But, I mean, the labor estimates for setting up mostly for the server and the workstations, that we have costs here, but I'm not sure if it's per hour, if, the number of hours estimated could change, and that could change the prices big time. So that's what I'm trying to figure out.
It wouldn't change ours. I mean,
Right, or the copier, but I mean the...
We have actually credited people back or come in under estimate, but it wouldn't be over.
Okay, so that would be actually, it's a fixed number, it's not going to go up, is all I mean.
SimQuest is also fixed.
Okay, so that number you've got there that's going to stay, that's firm, okay.
All right, well, thank you to all three companies for being here to answer our questions and help clarify things for us. We really appreciate it from everyone. And I think we have all the information we need to move on, unless there are any additional questions from council. Diane?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Thanks very much, folks.
Next item is the discussion on the utility operations proposal.
Okay. And we'll just give folks a minute. So we have our friends from Eaton Peabody here. Nice to see you gentlemen again. And so this discussion is a result of questions that came from our Utilities Committee members, maybe for clarification, maybe for more direction, maybe to provide more direction. Since I haven't been at those specific meetings, but I have, we do have Councillor Bickford.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Councillor Pesky, and some other folks have been involved in those discussions. Would one of you gentlemen like to start? Or Diane, did you have something you wanted to introduce with? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Did you want to
You
start?
start, Dylan, or you?
I will, if you want.
Okay.
I think we are back at this spot now because we got you guys' proposal. We met as a utilities committee, and I know one of the commissioners is here, and one of the members, or two of the members, and we had some questions about it, and I believe that Commissioner Bauer met with you, Dick. You guys went over some questions that we had, or our suggestions, as a group that we talked about, and then I believe I shared with the rest of the council during the council communications. I think we're here tonight, if I'm not mistaken, to go over it and hear from Eaton and Peabody on maybe their concerns. I'm not sure, but I know that's what brought us here, I believe, is the concerns that we brought up with the proposal. Is that right, Roger?
All right. I'll turn it over to you guys. All right.
I've got a few copies here.
We can share.
Enough to go around.
Okay.
In response to some of the questions that were raised, again, my name's Dick Matebia with Eaton Peabody Consulting. Don Garish is also here with me this evening. When we submitted the proposal, we were under the impression there was a proposal to both the Town Council and the Water Commission, who were looking for a proposal and were looking to share the cost of evaluating, any possible advantages or benefits in some form of changing of the organization of the utilities within the town of Lisbon. So that's why we submitted the proposal to both the town, you as chair of the town council, and to Bill Bauer as chair of the water commission. And at that point, I wasn't even aware of the fact you had this utility committee, which was sort of a separate entity of appointed officials, I guess, that oversees some of these operations. But we were under the impression that it was just focusing on the water and the stormwater and sewer, which was controlled by the town. I did meet with Bill Bauer. He presented me, a list of items that they had concerns relative to our proposal. I provided, a summary here to some of the issues, but I guess from Eaton Peabody's standpoint, we're concerned that if we're going to go into this project, that we have both the town council and the water commission on the same page relative to us moving forward, and to be dealing with groups that have separate concerns or agendas, if you will, relative to the proposal, that would make the tasks pretty much impossible to accomplish that's going to satisfy both bodies. So that was our main concern. I expressed to Bill when I met with him that we want, and that's why it was addressed to both bodies, that we wanted both groups on the same page. Relative to the individual items, I've outlined them here relative to exactly what we're looking for in our proposal, what we're going to do. We're going to meet with employees, we're going to meet with everybody who has an interest in either the water department operations, storm sewer, or the sewer utility, and get input, analyze documents relative to budgets, buildings, operations, and to look at employees, their job descriptions, what they're doing, compared to what their job descriptions say they're supposed to be doing, and to sort of see if there's some gaps there that we can fill to make the process more efficient than it currently is, and if there are advantages. Maybe it'll come out that there aren't any advantages. It's, difficult to assess that, before actually going through the process. But that's why we felt it was important that we have, a workshop where, both entities were present, so we could see that, in fact, are both groups on the same page relative to what you want to have accomplished in this project.
I think, I appreciate that, Dick. I'll give you an even broader view of my impression of what this project would accomplish for the town of Lisbon. There are questions out there about what's the best way to have the most efficiencies in both the area of water and the area of stormwater and sewer. And so we have quite a big handful of options. We could keep a water district and keep the stormwater sewer as a separate town department. We could put them together as a district. We could put them together as a department, or we could find another option. So, to my way of thinking, what the results of what Eaton Peabody would provide would be insight as to which direction would be the best one for the town of Lisbon. Are we best served as a town by having a district and a department, a combined department, a combined district? What is the best way to move forward? And I understand there are pros and cons to every option. So I think for me, I was looking for information and feedback that would let us know what, from an objective point of view, not from within Lisbon, what would be the best direction for Lisbon. And am I expecting too much? Am I going in the wrong direction? I don't think I misinterpreted, but, I know that's a broad view, but I think that was my main expectation, was to gain insight for the direction that Lisbon needs to be going in.
Okay, and that's good, I guess. Is that the same direction that the Water Commission, is looking to go in this process?
Okay.
And I'm not sure.
I want to hear Roger's question, then I see the little hand coming out from behind you. So, okay.
You said that you didn't know that the Utilities Committee was involved with this. The first time you guys met with us, it was at a utilities, at the Water Department. There's 3 councilors on that, 3 water commissioners, and 3 public people. We explained kind of what we wanted. We want what's best for the people of this town, and that's why we wanted to hire you, is to figure it out for us. So if we can go to the people, we have a third party to say, this is what Eaton Peabody, a third party, said that we ought to look into. And that's what we need more, because the people, they think that it's tipped one way or the other unless we have this independent study.
Okay, and maybe that was our fault for not, understanding that, but when we met, it was my impression, I don't know if Don's was the same, that we thought that comprised the Water Commission.
We were just trying to overview, say, and to try to tell you which, could it be a water sewer district? Would that be better for us? Would it be better for the town to take over the water department? Or leave it alone? I'm just looking myself, I'm looking for a long term, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, what's going to be the best for Lisbon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that Ken behind? Ken, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, Roger said most of it. Just for your information, that the council and the water commissioners decided to form this group to come up with the best solution. We approached you guys. The council as a whole did not approach you. The committee approached you. And I'm feeling a little set back right now that you would hand them your responses without giving them to the committee that requested your responses?
It's not, we're not here for confrontation.
I understand that, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you understand. What I would like to do is ask questions that we can get responses for, not, and I understand your point of view, I do. But if you, I don't want to see accusations or anything like that, okay?
Make one more statement. Is at that meeting that we met with you, we asked you, or I actually asked you if you would make a recommendation on which way to go, and you said no, you would leave that up to the town. You would give us with all the information, and then the town would comprise which way to go. Now you're changing your mind again?
I don't think they're changing their mind.
Well, it says supplemental. If the analyzing shows that the efficiency would be recognized in consideration of the current water department operations with the town, or consolidation of the current water department with the town.
Okay.
That they would do that. That's the part that threw me off when we reviewed their proposal.
I can see that. Okay, I see that. I do see that. And I think that for us as a council, we as a council have already worked with Eaton Peabody, so we already know how they work and we understand the process that they use.
I think that's why they're trying to go to you guys without going to the...
They're coming to us because we asked them to.
Well, how come they didn't skip the people who requested clarification to?
This is another accusatory thing, and this is not what I want to be here for. This is my concern, and this is my concern. I think that the town, as council, and the water district actually do want the same thing. I've discussed it with a couple of people, and whenever I discuss it casually with people, with nobody saying, hey, this is your fault, or you misunderstood me, or you didn't say this, or you said that, when I talk in a casual conversation, I do hear that we all want the same thing. We want information. What I would like to see, maybe the rest of council does and maybe they don't, but what I would like to see is an objective point of view, and that's my take on the information that we can get from Eaton Peabody. There are some people who believe that a water district or a water sewer district would be the best way to handle everything, and some of those people are on the Utilities Committee. There are some people who believe that a combined department as a department for the town is the best thing for Lisbon. That could be too. But I'm not going to make that decision until I have an objective point of view from people who know what they're doing, which is what I believe Eaton Peabody is proposing. So if Eaton Peabody bring the information that tells us that a combined water sewer district would serve Lisbon best, then I'll support that. If they bring us information that leads us to believe that a combined water sewer department run by the town is the best thing for the town of Lisbon, then I will support that. I'm not behind one or the other, and if they tell us that we have the best option right now, then I'll be behind that. But we're not here to throw Eaton Peabody under the bus. I think that in my experience, I've come to trust their research and their combined experience to give us the advice and the information that they feel that we need. And I'm not going to color it with accusations and other things that just don't get us anywhere. Mr. Garish?
Thank you, Don Garish. I was at the meeting when we met. Unfortunately, there weren't any counselors there that evening when we met, except Roger. You were there, Roger. And I think Dick and I felt that this was a joint project, and if we misinterpreted that, I apologize to you from the Water Commission. We thought it was a joint project. We really did. And that's why we put the proposal together to both of you. And that's why we're here tonight, to talk to both of the groups together. We want to serve you folks. We want to do what you'd like us to do. This is a complicated process. And there was no RFP. There was nothing that we had to go by. We listened and put together what we thought was a proposal that would meet the needs. If we've missed a point here or there, we certainly want to hear it. We certainly want to work with you. But I want to be honest with you that the politics of it concern us in terms of what direction we're hearing and seeing, and we feel that we needed to come and talk to you about that. And when you say you want us to tell you what's the best way to serve, governance becomes a big issue in terms of which way is better to serve. Is it better to have a separate district? Is it better and then run by representatives to that district? Is it better to have it all under the council? Is it better to leave it as is? Those are issues I'm not sure we can tell you are going to be best for your community. You're going to have to determine. We can tell you how it works this way, how it works that way, and you know how it works today. So again, we're here to work with you and work with the Water Commission to give you information that will allow you to look at these alternatives, because it is pretty complicated. Ownership becomes a big issue in terms of who owns what, who doesn't own what. The proposal, we talk about the legal issue that you would have to do if you formed the district in terms of ownership of, the town owns some of the property now, the water district, that you own all of it, and how that will all work. So it's very complicated. We believe we can do it for you. We believe we can give you a proposal that allows you to look at these. If you want us to make a proposal to you and tell you this is what we think, we can do that too. If you want us just to give you the information, we can do that. So again, we don't take any offense to what the gentleman said. We tried to do our best here to give you a proposal that would give you the information to help this community make a good decision. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Thank you, Don.
I got one more thing to say. Once you come along, well, we're kind of on the same page here now. You know, yes, I did tell you I was in favor of a water sewer district. She's in favor of the town taking it over. We have a difference of opinion, but that's all right. I'm looking, my main thing is, what's the best thing for the people of this town? And that's the bottom dollar. What's the best thing for the people of this town in the future, going down the road, the growth of the town, what's better? Basically, what I would like to have you do, as you progress and you get the information and you compile it, I would like it to go to our town manager, and she would distribute it to the council and the water commissioners. That would be, and then that we will get it quite quick that way, so we could discuss it.
We're open to do what makes it easy for you to do. And
If council would approve that, I would like to see that happen.
I think as long as, I mean, I think it's important, I mean, the council is half and the water commission is half, and we need to make sure that, I mean, that's why we have a utilities committee, so that we can have both entities working together And when I said earlier, Mr. Wells, that I see what you're saying, what I was seeing is that the language wasn't interpreted by you the same way it was interpreted by me. So I see that it could be interpreted differently, and maybe we need some clarification in the proposal to make sure that both the council and the water commissioners are equally and fully informed as we move forward. And I think if there's anything additional that comes from the commissioner side, we definitely need to know that.
Well, I'm not speaking from the commissioner side now. I'm still speaking from the utility committee meeting, which we have basically thrown out the window. Is there any reason to keep it? So, I mean, you're telling them now that they're going to meet with the water commissioners and the council. Is there?
Well, that's not cut and dried, Ken. We can say the utility committee also. We're not cutting people out.
No, I'm just saying that you're having.
Just as you not misread, but read into that differently, just because I specified two entities doesn't mean that I would think that the other would be left out.
I would have rather had that you guys planned. This workshop was kind of news to all of us. It caught all the commissioners off guard, and it caught some of the utility committees off guard, because we were expecting Eden and Peabody to come back to the utility committee to discuss our concerns about this before we brought it to everybody. So I just wanted to make that statement that, we're kind of.
Okay, and that's a perfectly reasonable. That's a perfectly reasonable point. And if that had been communicated to me or any other counselor or the manager, then I'm sure we would have reconsidered. But it wasn't communicated to us.
We didn't really know what this meeting was for.
Well, I did put it on the agenda. It's my fault.
Well, we're saying you were doing it.
And he's on the committee.
Yeah. Roger did it for the next meeting, because we were expecting them to send it to the committee, the utility committee, so we could review it and then make our recommendations to you guys.
That's what I expected to have happened too.
That was our plan.
Also.
That's how it should have happened.
I think that's what
So
most
now
of us expected.
it got thrown for a loop, and we're kind of reading their answers to our questions right now. So
I think some of us are as confused as you, kind of why it ended up that way.
So I just wanted to make
It's not a
that
council doing something
complete
against you.
statement, and I'll shut up for now.
Well, and you know what, Ken? Just like you, we have not done this before. So your input is just as valuable, both as a commissioner and a member of the committee, as anybody else's here. So if I don't think that it was, Roger suggested that we had a workshop, but I don't think that any of us.
Roger's suggestion was that it would be on the agenda the next time you had a normal meeting, that when we heard from them, that we could update you guys on it and say that, yes, we were going to go with them, or no, we still needed to work out some more details on it with their proposal.
It's easier to cancel an agenda item than it is to put one on the agenda at the last minute.
Lisa, can I say something?
Please.
I'm going to take some ownership to this, because we had a meeting tonight scheduled as a workshop. We had originally 2 items on the agenda. One ended up going away. So it was my suggestion to make this a workshop rather than have it on the next council meeting, which I had mentioned at the last meeting, because I thought we've got a really long agenda for next week, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity if we're going to meet here for just one item, we might as well do this. So I'm going to take ownership. You can blame me. Don't blame the council. Blame me, please.
Well, no, I'm just.
But that's why we're doing it in a workshop tonight. That's my fault, because I just thought it'd be easier to fill that void where we had a workshop scheduled tonight.
Well, as a workshop, I figured that we were all going to sit around together and be able to hash this out and go over it like a normal like you guys used to have normal workshops.
Well, we usually.
We're having a meeting afterwards, which I didn't realize until.
Well, and also I knew we'd have a lot of people for the first part of the workshop, so I knew we couldn't put everybody at the table. So I think if Don and Dick are
it seems to Dick and I that if it's the committee you want us to work with, we'll be glad to do that. If it's, I just think we need some definition of who we want to work with. If it's the committee, we certainly would do that. And that's the way you want us to go. And if the committee's the one who's going to sign an agreement and pay us, that's fine too. It was confusing to us, and again, we might have misinterpreted it, and we apologize for that. But if we know which group we are going to deal with on it on an ongoing basis, we certainly can do that and meet with them and move ahead. If you still want to work with us, we believe we can offer you something. But again, I think that it was a little confusing to us. So as long as we know, I think we can work through these issues and give you a report that will help you make some good decisions.
Okay, and I think that making sure that the utility, I prefer that. The Utilities Committee is made up of councilors and the commissioners, so it makes sense to work with a body that can then report to council and then report to whoever else needs information. So I would think that if you work directly with them, unless there are councilors who disagree.
The only thing I might suggest is once they've come up with a plan of what they want from you guys, if you run it past us and the water commissioners, so that everybody is okay with what's
With reporting to council, definitely.
Before they go out and, they get instructions, then run out and compile a report, and we can both come back and say, oh, well, this is what we wanted. It was some, run off in some other direction.
We're going to do that anyway. We've been trying to keep you informed.
The suggestion I would like to make is after the utility committee is fine with their proposal, we bring it to you guys and we bring it to the water commissioners for their approval. And then after that, then it's on your guys' shoulders and the water commissioner's shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And with the utility committee members who are not on active citizens, I guess, who are just citizens, will still be in the loop.
Right.
Like to keep them in the loop, but I don't really think that, they need to, as a utility committee, unless there's some urgent matter that has to be done.
Well, and
except for the final review, I guess, maybe.
There's always communication through the town manager, too, because the manager's in touch with the council at least once a day.
It's a good thing.
I'm not kidding. And
I
then
think Jody had something to say.
I guess the thing that we have to know is, who are we contracting with? Are we contracting with the Utilities Committee? Do they have a budget? Are they going to be able to, pay for the cost of these services? It's going to other entities? Who is our actual contract with?
It'll be as you had initially established. Half would be the Water Commission and half would be the council. But that Utilities Committee reports to both entities, so.
And it's made up of both.
And it's made up of both.
Don't worry, you get paid. We've already got the money put away for you.
He had the same question I did, because so to move forward now, I guess the proposal may change a little bit, and then once that's changed, then it'll come back for authorization to have me sign it and whoever at
And
the
the
water.
commissioners.
It'll come back to the council. Okay.
Jody,
I just want to make sure we close that loop.
I know, they didn't forget me. I just wanted to make it a suggestion, because Shelley and I have struggled a little bit with the administration and trying to help Don and Dick schedule a time to come back and talk to the Utilities Committee, because Shelley doesn't really know, is she supposed to be the one that's kind of coordinating and supporting that committee? Am I supposed to be the one that's supporting and helping with the administration behind the scenes for that committee? And then nobody really knows, and communication is haywire. We're calling each other back and forth, and the ball gets dropped. It's really frustrating for me. It's frustrating for Shelley, and I'm sure you have experienced that frustration as well, and by default, the Utilities Committee as well. So I think we're at a workshop where everybody's together. Maybe it'd be a really good time to kind of organize some of these details so we know how we're going to work going forward.
I think, actually, that's a very good point. I was actually just going to ask Diane, as manager, to define that chain of command for us. So just let us know what you come up with. But I think it is, we definitely need to have that organized, and it's something that you're good at. So Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's
or-
fine. We'll
or
come up with
is
a
it-
plan for you.
You could take it over if you wanted to.
I don't think she wants to. That's your job.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Trudy. All right, do we have any other questions or information that we need from council? Eaton Peabody?
All set, thank you.
Water Commission, Water and the Utilities Committee? Okay. Well, thanks very much. We really appreciate all the hard work and the time, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to the committee members also for making sure you're here.
We'll wait to hear.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda, Twyla?
Is to adjourn the workshop to a special town meeting, a special town council
Take a
meeting.
break.
Okay. We'll adjourn the workshop at this time. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we just have a couple of things that we need to cover here. All right. Back in 5.
Okay.
Are you going to want to vote on that copier tonight, or wait until next week?
Let me shut the microphone.
I guess what I was trying to say is I'd like to see the server stay the same. Who's in charge?
Roll my eyes.
Yeah, you feel better? I'm drinking my Dr. Pepper. Here, I went and got my glasses for no reason.
Thank you.
So since we've done roll call and pledge, do you want to begin with the good news and recognition?
Sure.
Good news and recognition.
All right. Do we have anything from any counselors? Or any committee members or staff? Anyone? I wasn't here for a little while, so I'm catching up still, but
I got something.
okay.
I've been told that the highway department garage is coming along at a very nice pace.
Oh, good.
So, looks like they're going to be in, when, Ryan? About?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the end of next week, well, the end of this week, the inventory room and mechanics office will be ready for them to occupy. The office space and lunchroom area with the new restroom, probably a couple, 3 weeks, I'll say, just in case we wait on some parts, but everything's...
Mid to end of October?
I'd like to say that, well, I don't know.
Sometimes it snows on Halloween, so I'm hoping for before the end of October.
I'm hoping that by the end of September.
Okay.
Quite honest, but I mean, that's, a lot of stuff is supposed to come together at the end of this week. There'll still be work, because we are looking at replacing the roof, and that's gonna be a big number, but we're trying to get the options there. And then, we've been getting some proposals, and based on where we are with funding, we feel pretty comfortable that we're gonna be able to fit an addition onto one end for a service bay with the insurance money that we have. It may not be a full, I'll get laughed at when I say this tomorrow, but it won't be a full soup to nuts type of deal where we've got everything done, but I don't think at this point, but I'm comfortable stating that I'm pretty confident that we can get a shell up with what we've already got for insurance money, so.
And we're still, for that addition, that's also being designed so that we can expand on it later on if we like, and more easily than a regular building. Good. Great.
By what you said, you'll probably have a better idea next Tuesday on where we're at?
I'm hoping I don't have to be here next Thursday, but maybe.
Well, it doesn't
No, it is
necessarily mean
coming.
you have to be here, but the information.
No, I mean, well, like I said, we're supposed to have the numbers from the sheet rockers the end of this week. The electrician he was waiting for some stuff that's been done at the beginning of this week. I mean, it's things are coming together pretty quickly right now. And our biggest thing is getting the guys moved into the mechanics bay or the mechanics office and inventory area so we can clean out those storage containers and get them off, because those are $600 a month as long as they sit there. And we did receive a storage trailer today, transfer station, and we kept the old one so we could use that as our own storage container in anticipation of moving stuff out of the way to add on to that end of the building. So
Good.
it's coming together pretty well. I'm pretty excited. Dennis has been fantastic to work with. And I think we've made the best of the situation we had.
Great. That is good news. Thanks for bringing it up, Roger.
Well, I stop in on my way to the dump every Saturday to mosey on through.
All right, anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to the next item.
There are no public hearings. Next item would be the audience participation for agenda items.
Do we have anyone who'd like to speak on the agenda items?
Please use the lectern and state your name and address for the record.
Larry Fillmore from Lisbon. I want to talk about the servers, the connectivity, and the copiers. I've had years of experience with this. I've made plenty of mistakes. Okay? I built the network for the Brunswick Naval Air Station and kept it running until it closed. I work with Councilor Garrison on this project, so I can tell you from experience how difficult this is to do. But the one thing I learned over the years was the hardware and the cost of the hardware and the software doesn't mean crap. Okay? The connectivity and maintaining that connectivity is critical. The money that you spend on doing this the right way, one company does it all, lease it, don't purchase it. And the reason for that is, if it's your equipment, they're going to say, it's your equipment, you fix it. If it's leased, you can tell them it's your equipment, you fix it. Okay? You have a contract with them, and Jody will tell you, if this place goes down, you guys are in deep kimchi. If they do not respond, the most critical thing in a purchase like this is the service agreement and how quickly they can get your network back up. There's your cost. Okay? So you may pay a little more in the front to do it right. And I'm not going to get into figures of who's who, but I'm just saying the big cost is up front. But over a 5-year period, if you're paying $100 an hour for someone to come out and it breaks down 2 times a week, 3 times a week, you don't get them in for 2 days, that's money you're losing. Not only on the equipment and everything, but the service to the people. So I say, from experience, service contract, make sure that it's all done by one and lease it. Don't purchase it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fillmore.
Yes, good evening, Debbie Berry, Lisbon Falls, Maine. My question is regarding the IT part of this. I know there's 2 parts. One was the copier, one was the connectivity. Now, in the school department, we pay a man named Mr. Churchill $45,000 on-site technology. Now, I'm assuming he's some sort of IT person. At some point, if there's an issue regarding connectivity over a day, is it possible to contact him as a co-sharing to ask him to come on over and find out what our connection problem is, for him to diagnose and troubleshoot that as a courtesy? Or do we have to go over to the school and just use their facilities? That was my question too, because we already have a person on payroll for that. So if the lease agreement doesn't allow for a person to come out that day, if you will. Now, there used to be the old school version too, that if in fact you can't use a copier, certain jobs would just have to be, okay, we can't make copies for you, but we have you listed here. Here is a receipt. We will get this to you immediately. Let's get your mailing address, and we'll send it to you. Now, there's 23 departments listed. Now, will each department be a recipient of this copier agreement, different things? Not the copier. I'm trying to think what they call that, but anyway, okay. Because the municipal is one part, school department's another, the police department's another, but I'm assuming sewer and water would need a copier, internet server, or do they have different leases? Maybe that's the question I have. Now, on the municipal's part of side of this, how many print, fax, scan jobs need greater than 65 pages per minute? I can't imagine there would be that many that they couldn't be managed, a little bit time management, and have those scheduled in such a way that if there is an issue, that the school's available, or the sewer department, or we can go over to the water department and use their facilities. And what is the frequency? Are we doing these daily, weekly, monthlies? These other questions, I'll probably just go ahead and I'll email Jody, because it's like, what are our annual number of copies for black and white, fax, scanned, and color? And why the speed? Why isn't 35 pages per minute sufficient? Because I used to work in a personnel office, and if it was 35, we did the print job on one thing, and we did other things with the other part. It wasn't an issue, time management. Now, I'm not allowed to make any questions regarding the utility thing at this point, right? Is that correct?
Right, yeah, it's not on the agenda.
Okay, but it's on the bottom part I can ask at that point. Okay, very good, thank you.
Miriam Morgan Alexander, Lisbon. About the copy machine and connectivity, I would like to support 100% what Mr. Fillmore has said, because I am in total 100% agreement with him.
Anyone else? All right, the next item.
Audience participation response.
All right. Mr. Fillmore and Miriam, thank you both for your input. It's valuable, and it is in line with much of what we discussed during the workshop, so we appreciate your input as well. Mrs. Berry, some of your questions I can answer right off. I don't think that the description for the IT person at the school is in line with what we're talking about in terms of an IT need here. That person has a different job. But that would be a question better suited to Mr. Green. In terms of overall copier needs, how many copies do we make? I've been here on days when I see just our council packets being made. I don't know how many pages this one is, but I'm willing to bet that at 35 copies a minute, it would take a little bit of time to get it done. So I did see the need for that speed, and it is on at least a bi-weekly basis. I do know that the cost of sending larger jobs out is higher than it is to use our own machines, because we've already seen that. So I hope that your additional questions that require more specific answers, that you'll forward them to the appropriate people. I don't think that council has really questioned whether we're making copies in the town office that we don't need to make or anything. We heard both from Jody and from one of the representatives from one of the companies that bid that the numbers that she was asking for seemed in line with the needs of the office. But please do send your specific questions. I think you already know who you need to send which questions to. So, okay. And the next item, please, Twyla.
There's no consent agenda. Be under council orders, ordinances, and resolutions. Order 2014-184, server upgrade and copier bids.
Would you like my recommendation?
Yes.
And I agree with what Larry said and what Miriam said. That's exactly how it should be, because in the long run, it's going to save you money if everything's together. So with that said, my recommendation would be to award the bid for everything to SimQuest.
And there has been, there was also the idea that we should consider separating the server upgrade from the copier bids. Do you think that we should do that, or do you think that?
Deep down, if you want to have a savings, you can do that, but I agree with what Larry said. Keep it all with one person, because it's all networked, and that person knows the system, knows he's going to be networking the copiers, and I just think that you got one person that's going to be doing it all, and we're going to be better off for that. We don't want to get into a situation where we have an issue down the road, and this has happened before, not here, but I've been in this situation where nobody will own up to a problem that's occurring because one person sold you something, the other person's a networker, so you have a problem with a copier, so you call the copy person says, no, it's in the network, you got to call your network person. You call the network person, they say, no, it's in the copy. I've had that happen, and you know what, I don't know if anybody else has had that happen. Larry? Yep. So, been down that road. So it just...
Nope, never been there before in my life.
Yeah. So...
Actually, I think Larry called me and said, no, it's not us, it's the other guys.
So that's my 2 cents worth. I just think we would be better off if it was with one company. Now, if you want to save money, then you can certainly split it up. And if you did that, I would still request that you keep all the IT and the server with SimQuest.
I think I'd like to hear from individual counselors before we decide what we're going to do, whether we're going to separate it or keep it together. I just, because I don't want to speak for everybody. I don't want to open it up for voting if that's not what everybody wants to do. Roger, how do you?
Oh, I'm doing to start this.
Okay, Dylan.
Me?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's the first time that I actually agree with Larry.
So stunned he can't speak.
So you're a vote for putting it all together in one package then, is that it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, my inclination is, just as a purchaser, would be to split it up into two, but I think there's a good argument there for having it as one, and that, we keep it all under the same people that are doing our, maintenance contract for the network, so we know that they can't blame somebody else. It's their equipment, they sold it to us, so get on the phone and kick their butts if they don't come and fix it right away. I think that's a compelling argument.
Councilor Garrison.
I never agree with Larry, so I have a problem here. My only request is if we do decide to separate it, I want it to go back out for bids because I don't have to figure out which is which. I do believe that having them under one is, for that reason, is a good idea because you only got one person to go fix it. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm in the same boat you are. I hate to agree so hardly with Larry, but he and I have been down that road. So I mean, it's difficult to argue with that. And as far as going with SimQuest, I'm really not 100% comfortable with the other two companies taking over the IT needs. I'm not seeing, PCCI has a note on here, need to verify specs of server. They need to verify the specs, but did they give us a bid?
No, I don't think that was from them.
That's not from them?
That's from
Yeah.
Brian.
Oh, we need to
Brian,
verify.
okay. Does that mean he has to verify the specs of what they're offering of the server?
So there's a little lack of
I'm a
clarity.
little lost there, and
Yep.
some of the other comments on budget, so I don't know. I'm not 100% comfortable with going away from SimQuest. They are the most expensive, but I'm also a firm believer sometimes you get what you pay for.
And the total cost is, and I'm just going to reconfirm this one more time, the total cost is under what we actually budgeted.
Yes. And I believe they went automatically to the lease, correct? Which means we wouldn't have to play musical chairs.
I still think that since they gave us their cash price now, though, you still have the option of going to Interscope, sorry, may I?
Yep.
Still have the option to go to Interscope, any of those other banks they mentioned, and see where their lease payment comes in comparison to what SimQuest had proposed.
Okay, so that's a good thing to keep in mind, too,
Yeah.
Diane.
We'll check that out.
All right.
I mean, that was the benefit of having the cash prices now from all of them.
Councilor Brunel?
Oh, I like to consider everything that Diane says, not stepping on Larry's toes for what he's saying, but Jody and Ryan both are on board about doing, I'm under the impression that it's SimQuest for both. It's under budget. Again, I think we spend a lot of time talking about something that should have taken 10 minutes. So there's my piece.
Bill?
I agree.
While I was not really impressed with the vendors coming in here tonight and with some of them, I would have to agree that going all with one with SimQuest would be beneficial to the town. It's more soothing to me to see their cash price of $56,600 compared to the $62,000, because that is a lot higher than the lowest bidder. But I did come in and talk with Jody while I was waiting to talk with the town manager yesterday, and she feels this is the best bet to go with her experience. And I don't live in this building. I don't spend as much time here as she does. And I would have to agree that going SimQuest all-in-one would be our best bet at this point. The only concern I did have thinking about it was from PCCI, talking about their DSM link they provided, but it sounds to me that this won't fit the need of Chief Brooks for his digital imaging unit that he's talked about for a couple years, so that throws that idea out the window. So I'm okay with it.
Well, even so, same copier, so.
Right, you could put the
software's
software
still
on
there.
Yeah.
Right, you could look at it.
And it could have future
I'm saying
use.
for it being free, I'm just saying it.
No, well, I don't know, depends.
That's nothing
Said it
free.
wasn't- He said it wasn't very expensive, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we see a clear direction. I think council would like to make a decision on this tonight. Can you read the
Yes.
resolution as it is?
Yeah, the server upgrade and copier bids, it would just need a motion to approve, to award the bid to one of those companies.
Would we be awarding
Amount.
the 56 or the 62? Would we go with the cash price?
I would do the cash price and then allow staff to get the best financing available. It may end up being theirs, but we may be able
Make
to
sure we
save
know.
more if we went to the local banks. So I think that should be part of the motion, is to award the cash price and then seek the leasing option.
I would make a motion to authorize the town manager to negotiate or find the best financing available for SimQuest at a cash price of $56,656 for the, as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, this is just a show of hands, right, Twyla?
Yes, it is.
All those in favor?
0. Order passed.
All right, and the next item, please.
There's no other business. It would be audience participation for new items.
Do we have anyone who'd like to speak on new items that are not addressed on the agenda?
Dot Fitzgerald, Lisbon Falls. I'll be brief. I probably wait till next week, but Mrs. Barnes said that the agenda is lengthy for next week. At last Tuesday's meeting, on the agenda was an easement for Randy Crafts. The easement obtained from the Crafts extends from the building to the trail. Crafts have requested the level we level the area between the trail and the building, pave the area. Is there money in the budget for that? Is there still enough money left in that trail budget to do that?
Do you have that answer right now, or do we need to get back to
I don't know if all the bills have come in for the trail project, but I can find that out for you.
I would hope it would not be more, because this trail has been really expensive as it is, and now they're going to be spending more money on signs, and I'm wondering if that is included in the budget.
So you have two questions. Is there money in the budget for the easement for crafts? And is there money in the budget for the signs for the trail?
Can I respond to her real quick?
Yes.
Dot, just so you do know, I did ask Ryan one meeting when he talked to us about this, and Roger, it was only a couple, I shouldn't say only, but it was a couple $1,000s for all of it. And he said that if there wasn't anything available, it was going to come out of the paving line.
So there's still money in the paving line?
Our paving line for paving the roads.
But we need roads paved, so I hate to take money out of the road paving budget for...
Well, we got to do what we agreed to do, and if that's what we have to do, we have to do it, and we can't jab a citizen because that came in over budget. We have to take care of them. So
I realize and I understand.
All right, this isn't the time for discussion, actually, but Dot, I'm going to ask Ms. Barnes to give you a call with a more detailed explanation after she finds that for you, okay?
Okay, very good. Yep, Debbie Berry, Lisbon Falls, Maine. My question on the proposal by the Eaton Peabody people is, who's driving that? Who actually requested them to do the survey? And where is the cost for the survey on the working budget we're presently on? Did it go out for bid? Because there's probably other people that might take that position and do a very good job with it as well, otherwise in Eaton and Peabody, because normally that is a put out for bid type thing. Now, when I attended the Water Commission meeting, they actually said that we've already approached this once through the state legislature, approximately 4 years ago. It cost us, our share, $22,000 to be denied. So it's already been done. We've already done this. We've already traveled this road. We don't have money for this constant approach after approach after approach. If we do, then what I would recommend is somebody here at the town council do some work on this before we go to a point of actually paying a professional organization to do the work, and determine pretty much for ourselves through the water department audits that are in the town report, the issue regarding the Maine legislature denying us. All these issues are probably all the political question that Mr. Eaton Peabody was questioning is already probably there. It's probably no, don't proceed. But if that's the case, what I would also ask, are there other efficiencies that could we possibly review the study of municipal functions, school functions? Because if we only are picking on the water department and the sewer department, well, maybe we should look into the municipal functions and school functions to make sure they're as efficient as they need to be as well. And it appears that I'm a little offended, by be honest with you, because whoever's driving this is not really taking, they're disregarding the department director's opinion of the matter. Because I heard Mr. Wells here speaking, lamenting, going, wait a minute, we started this, and yet somebody else started running with the ball in another direction and made contacts and asked you to report and stuff like that. And I would ask that you do respect your directors, you do respect your committees, because they're supposed to be representing us as well. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Dorothy Fitzgerald again. Just as a member of the public, in my opinion, the Water Department has always done a good job. They have always served the public well. They've always tried to keep their costs down, and I'm a water user. So I would be in favor of the Water Department staying the way they are. The only problem is infrastructure. And I don't know if that's the Water Department or the town's responsibility. There have been numerous water breaks on Frost Hill Avenue, and our infrastructure is old, and we need to start looking at that and taking care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item?
Council's response to new items.
Sorry. Diane, did you have anything you wanted to respond to?
No.
Okay. Roger?
I do want to respond to Dot's comment there, that it is the water department that controls the water mains and water pipes. Those are all, controlled through them, and that's not our responsibility.
And I'm going to say something, the water department actually took out a bond, then they're fixing Frost Hill, probably starting in the next week or two. That's old AC pipe, and it should have been replaced a long time ago.
In response to your list of questions, Mrs. Berry, I know that there's been a lot of work on both the Water Commissioner's side and the Council side, and that's why the Utilities Committee was put together. We had legislation denied to us last year, and this has been a long time in coming, and that's why we formed the Utilities Committee, so that the Commission and the Council and citizens could all look at it together. So this is not something that Council decided, or the Water Commissioners decided, or residents alone. This is something that is a joint effort, and it's been ongoing, and I'm sure that if you needed to find out more, that the folks on either the Utilities Committee or who are 3 counselors and the 3 commissioners and 3 citizens would welcome you at a meeting, or would welcome questions either by mail or email or phone. If you need their contact information, the manager's office can provide that for you.
I believe that Roger Bickford is the driving force behind trying to take over the water department.
Yeah, I am.
Trying to take over.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you get one of his sanitary surveys?
I think it is just so you do know that we had a budget line in the sewer department for this that council added this year for this study, and this came from the public vote when went to Augusta that we denied, and they told us to come back. I was there. Told us to come back as the water department in the town and talk, and not to go back to them until we were on the same plan that we all agreed on. And out of that talking meeting, the Utilities Committee was formed. Just I want to make sure you knew that as well.
Okay.
How did E-Water get the contract?
Yes, it did, actually. We had another company come in. They were way over what we wanted to spend.
We're asking for a lot, Roger.
So matter of fact, Mr. Dale Olmsted actually got Eaton Peabody and got them going, and directed them to us.
Well, hopefully they're getting paid because they are here and they appear to be very interested in the
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we've got.
They're really
monies
interested in
all-
being paid.
Yeah.
They're really interested in being paid.
Well, we all are. They're paying taxes, you know.
Oh, yeah, I know. I am a taxpayer. I own property.
All right.
I do too.
The next item, please, Twyla.
There are no appointments. It would be council communications.
Do we have any additional council?
The last meeting, Dot had asked the status of Luigi's. I did talk with Tracy, and she did inform me that they're still at a standstill, and she has had contact with them, and so has Dennis. There's no new information to be given at this time, but I want to make sure I gave that information as I told you I would.
Thank you, Dylan. All right, if we have no further communications, the next item
is to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All those in favor?
That was pretty quick there, Dylan.
Yep, right there.
Thank you very much.
What am I signing anyway, you know?
You're signing that,
That's the,
that you posted the,
Get away.